Hey everybody, it's the Judge here from Greenfire Games. Today we're going to be talking about the new Magic the Gathering set coming out next week called Eldritch Moon. Now, normally, the way that we've done our unboxing videos, we talked about the cards as we opened them. But we want to try something a little different today. Today we're going to be going through each of the different colors of the cards and talking about some of the key cards that I think are going to be very helpful in Standard, in EDH, and in Draft format. For our first video, we're going to be talking about all the particular white cards I think you're going to be seeing a lot of. So the first thing going through some of these, I noticed there are a lot of humans in this set. So I know it's focusing a lot on the different creature types. So it's really good to see them bringing back a lot of the humans, because that's something we don't normally see a lot of. But one of the things that they're doing with it is there's a lot of humans with something else. So there's a lot of human knights, human soldiers, human clerics, and there's a lot of cards that play off of the different humans, kind of like how the allies were. That'll say a lot of bonuses for humans. The first human that I want to talk about is Thalia, Heretic Cathar. Now she's a legendary creature and also a human soldier. Now the first thing that stood out to me when I was looking at the cards was her mana cost. She's only 2 colorless mana and 1 white mana. This means that she can come out pretty early on in the game, and with a base attack and power of 3/2, you know you're getting what you're paying for. That's normally pretty good when you're dealing with white cards or creatures in general, is making sure that the mana cost is about the same as the power and toughness. But what really makes Thalia special is when you read her ability, it says, First Strike. Creatures and non-basic lands your opponent controls enter the battlefield tapped. Now that means on turn 3, you can stall your entire opponent's turns until they're able to get rid of this creature. You don't need to attack with Thalia. As long as she's on the battlefield, everything your opponent plays that's a non-basic land and or a creature will come into play tapped. So that means if they play a fetch land, they won't be able to use it that turn. If they use an Evolving Wilds, they won't be able to use it that turn. They have to wait that additional turn. With how powerful non-basic lands are in this game in general, making sure that they come in tapped will delay your opponent 1 turn and give you a little bit of advantage there. In addition to that awesome ability that she has, she also comes equipped with First Strike. Now, you'll see that a lot on white creatures. It's pretty typical with soldiers, you'll see it. But what I really like about it is, since she's a white creature, she pairs very well with green and with blue. So if you did need to attack or block with her, there's a good chance that you'll have a card to pump up her values, or to make or counter anything that come at you if you're running blue, or even bounce her back to your hand, because there's a lot of blue bounce in this set. So there's a lot of ways to keep her around and make her useful. Since I just finished talking about Thalia, I figured the next logical card to talk about will be Thalia's Lancers. Thalia's Lancers is a human knight, and it costs 3 colorless mana and 2 white mana. It's a 4/4 creature with First Strike. Again, we have a white creature with First Strike. But what really makes it stand out is its ability. When Thalia's Lancer enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a legendary card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Now, what did we just finish talking about here with Thalia? She's a legendary creature. So you play the Lancers, if you haven't drawn Thalia yet, this gives you a chance to search through your deck, get Thalia, put her in your hand. Also, since you had the 5 mana to cast Thalia's Lancers, there's a good chance you have the 3 mana to cast Thalia. One of the differences between Thalia's Lancers and Thalia is that, as opposed to, Thalia is a human soldier, where Thalia's Lancers, they're human knights. So it makes it kind of hard if you want to run a soldier deck or a knight deck. You have to really choose one or the other. But with all the humans that are available in this set, you're more bound to go the human route as opposed to one of the other additional creature types. Where I can see Thalia's Lancers getting a lot of playthrough is more so in the draft format, or if you're going with just a human-centric deck. Because it's a 4/4 with First Strike, but if you were to put in any other white deck, you wouldn't get as much use out of it. So I see this more as, if you pull it in a draft, this is a really good card to have as one of your top tier cards, or one of your final swings. Or it's just a good blocker attacker. It's a 4/4 First Strike. You're not going to be you're going to be dealing a lot more with commons and uncommons in that format. So with this being a rare, you might not pull it as much, but it will have a higher power and toughness than what most of the creatures you're going to deal with will have. The next card that I want to talk about, again, since we're going down the human route, I feel like it would be necessary to talk about this card, especially for draft forms, or if you're just building a human deck. It's called Courageous Outrider. It's an uncommon, and it's a creature with the type Human Scout. Again, it's not a knight or a soldier, it's a human scout. So it's focusing more on the human creature type. Now it's 3 mana and 1 white mana, and it has a power toughness of 3/4. But what really makes this card shine is it really helps human decks. When Courageous Outrider enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a human card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Say you played Courageous Outrider. Look at the top 4 cards. You have Thalia's Lancers, and you have Thalia in your hand. So what you can do is take Thalia's Lancers, put the rest on the bottom of your library. Next turn, since this is a 4-drop, you should be going to your 5-drop next turn, play the Lancers, and that lets you go right for Thalia. So that sets up multiple turns in a row with this one card. So it's also really good because it's a 3/4 for 4 mana. Again, that's a very basic power toughness mana cost. So that means it's really good in a human deck if you're going for standard or vintage or any of those formats. And it's also good in the draft format just for having a pretty solid blocker at 4 mana with its 3/4. So it can handle most things coming at it. The next thing that white seems to be abundant with are angels. I feel like the first one I need to talk about is Gisela. This is the new Baneslayer angel that you're going to be running into. So she is 2 mana and 2 white mana. She's a legendary creature and an angel horror with flying, first strike, and lifelink with a power toughness of 3/4. Now I'm gonna pause right there and I'm gonna switch over because I'm gonna be talking about another card that it references. It's Bruna the Fading Light. So Bruna the Fading Light's power says, when you cast Bruna the Fading Light, you may return target angel or human creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. She is 5 mana and 2 white mana, so a total of 7. So when you cast her, since 7 mana, it's going to be a little bit later in the game. So there's going to be a couple creatures in your graveyard, so you get to easily bring one of them out there, so you're getting 2 creatures for the price of 1 for that 7 mana. I really like cards that give you multiple creatures for 1 set mana cost. Another thing with her is she is flying and vigilance, another thing that you're going to be seeing a lot of with angels. So I'm going to switch right back to Gisela. At the beginning of your end step, if you both own and control Gisela the Broken Blade, and a creature named Bruna the Fading Light, exile them, then meld them into Brisella, Voice of Nightmares. If you have, just like the power says, if you have both creatures, you turn them over. Each card has 1/2 of the card, so you need both of them to do it. And it turns into one big monster. So I'm going to take a look right now at Brisella, Voice of Nightmares, because that's just a fun card to say. So no mana cost because you get this card by melding. It's a legendary creature and it's an Eldrazi angel. He is flying, first strike, vigilance, lifelink. And the kicker on this is because those are all great on their own. I mean, that's a win combination right there. But just the little icing on the cake says your opponent can't cast spells with converted mana cost 3 or less. That means they can't cast a lot of general burn spells. They can't cast a lot of counter spells. With the 3 costs or less, that means you're going to have a lot more control on the battlefield, and your opponent is going to have a lot less cards that they're going to be able to use. Just because, I mean, you had to cast 2 angels to get this. Let's make this new one a 9/10 with flying, first strike, vigilance, and lifelink. It's a little overkill. I mean, at this point, it's pretty safe to assume that you have the game. I don't know. I just love it. So you're not going to be really seeing a lot of Brunas being played. Because yeah, she's 7 mana and only has flying and vigilance with that extra thing to get the extra creature. So 7 mana is a lot to invest in a creature. What you're going to be seeing a lot more of is Gisela. If you pull this card in draft or in your pre-release, if you just happen to have one and own a white deck, you put that card in it. Because you're getting a 4/3 for 4 mana with flying, first strike, and lifelink. Those are just 3 great powerful abilities that 4 mana alone should get you. But for this card, you're getting all 3 just because. I'm going to start talking about more of the bread and butter of white. Because we all know that blue has instants, and black has a lot of instant kill. But what white really excels at is having all these awesome enchantments. So, the one card that really stood out to me on that front is Sigarda's Aid. It is 1 white mana, and it's an enchantment. So right there, that's a first turn enchantment. It's in play. Also, since it's an enchantment, not a lot of people really run enchantment removal unless it's in their sideboard. So if out of a 2 out of 3, this is a great card to have in there because they won't necessarily have a way to deal with it. You may cast aura and equipment spells as though they had flash. Let me read that again for you. You may cast aura and equipment spells as though they had flash. That means that you can cast all those as if they were instants. That's why white is, or blue is one of my favorite colors in this, in general in Magic, because of all the instants and sorceries that you can deal with. This makes every single one of those an instant. I mean, it's only white mana. What else can they give you? Oh wait, this ability. It says, whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach it to target creature you control. That's 1 mana that gives you the auto-equip on any equipment that you play from there on out. So say a big swarm's coming at you, and you have 1 creature. You can easily just say, oh, well, I'm going to cast this equipment in my hand. Oh, it's automatically on this guy. And then he can easily just surprise your opponents and take out some of their bigger, tougher creatures. Because this is something you normally couldn't be able to do, and they won't necessarily be expecting. So to emphasize how useful this card is, let's just look at some of the auras and equipments that you find in this set. So the first one that comes to my mind for usefulness is Faith Unbroken. It is a white enchantment aura. It is 3 colorless and 1 white mana. It says, enchant creature you control. When Faith Unbroken enters the battlefield, exile target creature and opponent controls until Faith Unbroken leaves the battlefield. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2. So not only are you able to cast this during a blocking phase, but you're able to give one of your creatures +2/+2 and get rid of one of their attacking creatures. So there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Not resource, utility. The next one in this set that I think would be really well with this with Sigarda's aid is Choking Restraints. It's another aura. This one is 2 colorless and 1 white mana, and it says, enchant creature. Enchanted creature can't attack or block. Pay 3 mana and 2 white. Sacrifice Choking Restraints. Exile enchanted creature. So again, right before an attack phase, if they have a really large creature, you just pay 3 mana, throw this on there, and that creature is stuck there. They can't attack with it, they can't block with it next turn. And if they find some way to try to disenchant your enchantment, this aura, you can pay the 5 mana and say, you know what? He's exiled. He's out of there. He's not a threat at all. So there's, again, more utility with this card. So those are 2 auras in this set that this goes well with. So I'm going to talk about one of the equipments that I think is great. It is called Cathar's Shield. It is a common. Keep in mind, it's a common. You're going to be seeing this card a lot. It costs 0 mana. So it's a free drop. You can do this whenever. It says, equipped creature gets +0/+3 and has vigilance. Free, +0/+3. Normally, they get around the 0 cost by making the equipped cost 3 mana to do. But because Sigarda's aid says you get to equip it for free, it's just a free permanent bump that also gives vigilance. Alright, and thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If there's anything that you felt that we got wrong or left out, we'd love to hear from you and leave them in the comment section below. Also, make sure that you check out the other videos in this series. You can find them either through our YouTube channel, through our Patreon campaign, or through our website at greenfiregames.net, all of which you can find in the links below. This has been The Judge. You have yourself a good evening.